for you. I've got to I'm trying to make a document with all of them so they're all in a row. So it'll be like week 1, week 2. And then that way you don't have to search all over for them. So I need to write that down to say, go do that.
I don't know if you can tell. I'm kind of embarrassed. I got a thing right there. Does it look like a
No.
Oh, good. Because
I can't even see anything.
I have a black eye.
You do?
Yeah. Well, it's not around my eye. It's like it busted my eyebrow, and it's all purple right there. But if it doesn't show, that's a good thing.
Yeah. Well, sometimes your computer, like, it'll dim and then it's bright, and then it's dim and then it's bright, and then so I can see you. It's like I can see you better now. So, yeah.
But I was laying on the ground and I was playing with the baby, and there's like a low coffee table, and an empty tea mug fell off and hit me in the head, and it was like blood everywhere. It was awful.
Oh yeah, and then head wounds bleed a lot.
And Henry was like, "Oh my goodness, what happened to Mama?" He talked about it for days.
I'm sorry, but it's better.
It's better. I'm just glad it doesn't show too bad. So
no, I can't even see it. So, well, I want to pray and then kind of tell you what we're going to do today. Okay. So, Lord, I just lift this time up to you, and Lord, I lift up Megan and any other woman who listens to this and hears this, and I thank you that you are just doing a work in their lives, that you are healing their hearts, that you're healing their minds, God, that we are becoming whole, that we are becoming the person that you called us to be, the person that we are supposed to walk in. And wherever there's hurts, I just pray your healing power over it, God, in the name of Jesus, amen. Okay, so last week we talked about more of the neuroplasticity. Hey, Amanda! Did you hear us? Can you hear me? Oh. Let me see if she's trying to pop on here.
Her signal is probably like mine.
Well, sometimes, it usually isn't, so she might be having.
Mine is so bad at our house that I have to come over to my mom's house.
Well, thankfully, her house is right there. Is she not? Is your mom not home?
She works. She's a teacher.
Okay. So. Oh, she's a teacher. You are a teacher.
Yeah, I used to be too. We worked for the same school district.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, all your family is from Pampa, right?
Yep, they're all here.
Okay. Well, let me. I might edit this video, or I might turn it off. I don't know if we should wait on Amanda.
Because I think the first 5 minutes has been just kind of.
Yeah.
About waiting on other people, but that.
There she is. There you are.
My settings were set up to where my microphone wasn't on.
Okay, I was texting you saying, are you having problems hopping on, or messaging you?
Yeah.
Okay, well, what I had just prayed, and we were talking about that. We talked about neuroplasticity last time, and how we can change our mind and how we can change our brain, and just getting rid of the lies. And we're going to dive into a little deeper. And some of you, y'all may have already done some of this, but what I have found through my entire life is, and y'all know this, we are onions and we are layers, and God always, he just continues to reveal. So, maybe I wasn't able to handle all of something at one time, and God's like, okay, we're going to do this time. So even if you've done some of this before, maybe he'll show you something new through this. All right, so we talked about this a little bit too, and I wanted to make sure, because I know Amanda even talked about it. But I want to give you permission to feel your feelings, because I think a lot of time Christians can be like, I'm not supposed to feel that way. No, this is how I'm supposed to feel, and this is, this is what God's word said, and I'm supposed to do this. But he also gave us our feelings, and he also gave us our emotions, and he doesn't want us to bury any feelings that we have. So we need to make sure that we give ourselves permission to feel the feelings, even feel feelings of the past maybe that we had buried, so we can get them out, and we can go through that process, because we need to go through that process. It's a healing process. So that's just kind of something I was going to say before we got started. Don't be afraid of your feelings. Don't be afraid of hurt feelings, of feelings. You just got to feel it, get rid of them, and then know. Now, can y'all hear the TV? Is it too loud?
No, you're fine.
Okay. Okay, so if y'all want to say anything, just let me know. But, so what we're talking about, I just wrote a lot of notes here. We're trying to get to the core belief, the real you who's covered up. A lot of times it's covered up in bondage and brokenness, and you can't fully experience at all who God made you to be when all of this is covered up. So we're going to talk a little bit about inner healing, because inner healing, there's different steps to inner healing. I have found that there's a bunch of puzzle pieces when it comes to healing, when it comes to getting whole. One of those pieces I think that's been missing so much is neuroplasticity, of transforming our minds, and we don't do that. Now, some people work on this inner healing part, but they don't renew their minds. And they don't believe that they can change that. But now we know that. Science is even proving that we can do that. But, so let's kind of go through the inner healing part. And let me turn down her TV. Maybe I have to. Sorry, guys. Y'all can hear me with my headphones on, I'm guessing. Okay. All right. So inner healing is finding out what lies of the enemy, where they infiltrate our lives, applying God's redemptive grace to those wounds, and replacing them with truth. So God designed, and he fashioned us before the foundation of the world. And when you were in your mom's wombs, when we were in there, that's when he gave us our identity. He's like, he formed us, and here's our identity, right? We need to uncover that identity. So how do we get that uncovered? Lies passed down that's been told to us. We have how they get covered up. We have legitimate needs that weren't met. Maybe something with abuse, maybe something with rejection. I'm just going to kind of go through those 4 examples to show you how this happens in our lives. And always remember, deception is really one of the enemy's greatest tools, right? It just is. We are deceived to a lot of things. So the stories of our past, they're used to help us know why we act, feel, and think in a certain way. Okay? But we don't have to think in those ways that we've been ingrained to think because of lies or habits. Because we know we can change that. We can change the way we think. We can change our lives. We can change the direction that we're going in. So it's just really time to, I just want to break strongholds. Okay, let's walk in our truth. So I guess I wanted to read a scripture here. For though we live in the world, we do not wage war as the world does. The weapons we fight with are not weapons of the world. On the contrary, they have divine power to demolish strongholds. We demolish arguments and every pretension that sets itself up against the knowledge of God, and we take captive every thought to make it obedient to Christ. Okay, so one of the first things that we can do about, so what I'm going to do y'all care if I mute anything?
No.
And then, okay. And then if y'all want to, just unmute yourselves when you want to say something. Is that good? Okay. Because what I end up doing is I try to talk louder and that gets annoying. I'm like, I just do that. Okay. So there's different steps to inner healing, and one of them is getting rid of mental strongholds. Okay, I don't know if y'all have heard of this or anything, but simply put, a mental stronghold is believing the lies of the enemy and acting as though those lies are truth. Okay, it is deciding that our experiences of life that we've had, they actually take the place of the truth that God says. So it's looking for something else besides God to meet our needs. So a lot of times we don't even realize that because they've just been lies that have been with us forever. And then we have pain, frustration, lack, struggle. They're all results of these mental strongholds in our life. Okay, so here is how stronghold gains access. So if you want to, you can even write an arrow. So we have, number one is experience. And then like I have an arrow that's pointing this way. And our experience is what happens to it's our faulty core belief. So that experiences change our core beliefs to faulty. Then that in turn goes into wrong behavior. Then after that, that's where there's the stronghold, and that results in the pain, the lack, the struggle, all of that. So it all begins back there. It's just this full cycle. Okay, so let's talk about experience. Something happens in our lives usually before the age of 12 that can be hurtful words, a traumatic event, an impact experience of the perception that something was wrong, hurtful, traumatic, or impacting. And guys, listen, sometimes we can carry trauma in our bodies, and the trauma can lead to sickness, it can lead to physical pain if we haven't released the trauma from things that we've gone through, okay? So some examples of this can include having a critical or abusive parent, being sexually abused, having a sick sibling, being in a car wreck. So these are just some examples of an experience. I'm going to show you how these develop into strongholds in our lives. And as I go through these things, I want you to write down anything that maybe has been an experience for you that possibly that God's showing you that maybe you haven't dealt with yet, or maybe you have, but you haven't let it go all the way. Okay, so those are experiences. And number two is a faulty core belief. So as I go through this faulty core belief, I want you to write down any faulty core belief that was caused by that experience that you've had. Okay, so we develop a faulty core belief, a wrong way of thinking, a lie about reality, ourselves, others, and God. So examples can include, okay, so if we had an experience of a critical or abusive parent, our faulty core belief could be, I'm accepted only for what I do. Like I couldn't please my mom or my dad. If we had an experience of being sexually abused, our faulty core belief would be, I'm only loved for my body. That was me. That's what I thought. Okay, that's why I made a lot of the decisions that I made. If you had an experience of having a sick sibling, then your faulty core belief would be, I can't have attention unless I'm sick. So, like you had a sick sibling. If you're in a car wreck and experience, your core belief might be, God won't protect me. I was in a car wreck. All right, so I need to get a drink of water real quick. Like I said, if y'all want to talk or say anything, just let me know as we go through this. Okay, so how was it in the line? We did experiences, faulty core belief, and now third is wrong behavior. So that faulty core belief leads us to justify wrong behavior. And again, sometimes we don't even realize we're doing these things. So number one goes back to that first experience. I have to perform to be accepted or loved. Okay. Number two, I must engage in sexual activity outside of marriage and jump from relationship to relationship to assure myself that I am loved, or that I am okay. Never mind. Okay, I've got to always, number three, I've got to always find something wrong with me, or maybe I find myself accident prone in order to get attention and feel loved. And number four, I won't ask God to help me because I've had to depend on myself for my well-being. God and others can't be trusted to keep me safe. So if you find yourself, okay, you had that experience, what's your faulty core belief from that experience? And then what's the behavior? So maybe you can write that down of what you think that is. What? No, honey. I want you to go in there. I told you it's going to make you shake. Okay, well, I'm doing something. You go in there right now. You have a choice. You can either go to bed and take a nap or go in there. Those are your two choices. What do you choose? Okay. Okay. All right. So number 4, what did we say? Okay. Experience faulty core belief, wrong behavior. Then that's going to lead to our stronghold, our pain, lack, suffering, whatever. Okay. So this consistent behavior gives way to a mental stronghold that protects my right to behave wrongly and cause me to relive the pain over and over again. All right. So number 1, with all those experiences we've been through, being a people pleaser is the only way to be loved and accepted. Why am I always fearful that I can't measure up? Okay. Number 2, it's my right to sleep with whomever I want. This affirms I am loved. Why does each experience leave me more empty than before? 3, it makes me mad when people don't take my sicknesses seriously. When my sickness is ignored, why is my soul even more sick? Number 4, God isn't interested in my well-being. He's bigger than that. So why do I feel so far away from God? Okay. So when we have strongholds in our lives, we let a wounded soul call the shots. The emotions we may experience as a result of a stronghold can include anger, fear, rejection, abandonment, loneliness, entitlement, resentment, shame, or regret. And I just kind of put what we think we believe, and our beliefs determine our actions, and our actions determine our future. Okay, so that's just kind of, this is what I'm saying. This is a piece of the puzzle. We have to know why do we have this behavior? Why are there areas in our lives that we have pain? Well, a lot of times, now, it could have happened before age 12, but I know that there's things in my life that have happened even as an adult that I have to go back and figure this out, okay? So, for instance, we were leading a blended family group, right, last night. And I had told Dusty this story of we were at a meet out of town for one of the kids, and I had this was when we were first married. I put my hair in a ponytail, and he was like, oh, so you chose to put your hair in a ponytail today. You know, you didn't wear your hair down. Well, because of my past with my ex-husband, okay, and how he emotionally abused me, and he had affairs. You know, I always was thinking, and, you know, I was sexually abused and stuff. So how I looked was huge. So I was like, what do you mean? You know, you think I'm not pretty when I put my hair up? Is that what it is? Blah, blah, blah. And I remember staying like in the car devastated for 15 minutes, like, because I was so wounded in that area. So it caused me to behave in an irrational way that I shouldn't have even behaved in. Like, I wouldn't even do that today, but that's just some, you know, examples of how we will react and our behavior will become. So I don't know if she is paused. Are you here, Megan? I didn't want to go on and do, I can unmute you, Amanda, but I didn't want to go. Go ahead.
I think. Oh.
What were you saying?
Oh, I just realized that my phone is giving me troubles because my battery is low.
Oh, okay.
I've been up since 3:30 with a sick child, so it's
Amanda. Oh.
Well, my husband actually took him to the ER, so.
Is he okay? He's good?
For now, we can't really fully know. He had a Meckel's diverticulum when he was 3 and had it removed. Sorry, it's going to get dark.
Is that like is that a wart thingy?
No, it's a huge off growth in his intestines.
Oh, okay.
It's like diverticulitis to the max.
Oh gosh. Oh my goodness.
And so when he starts complaining of stomach issues and cramping and pain and wakes us up at 3:30 in the morning, we kind of have to take it seriously.
Mm-hmm. So he hasn't been back from the emergency room yet?
He's back, and right now they just say he's super constipated,
Okay.
and we're trying to get him to drink his water, but all that
How
just
old is
to
he?
9.5.
Okay. Oh, Amanda. Sorry.
Because I know the fiber's good, but there could be another blockage, and that's what we're praying against. That there
Yeah.
isn't, and that he can be cleared out without that. Because
Now, if you have those, is that supposed to, like, do they say that's recurrent or?
well, it's not supposed to be, but it depends on the amount of scar tissue. Like there can always be issues. Because
Yeah.
it was really hard with him because it showed up when he was 2 and they kept pushing it off. I mean, like, you don't watch a kid throw up 100 times and start throwing up bile, and it was awful. And they said, oh, he's just got a really bad virus. And we're like, you're kidding me, right?
Okay. Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm going to be praying for that. That's not fun.
No. We don't have time for another
Yeah.
surgery.
No, you do not. We're going to pray against that. So, okay. So when I did this, are there anything, like, you don't even have to tell me, but is there anything in your life that you can see, okay, maybe there is a mental stronghold because of something? Or, don't just say yes or.
Kind of. Like, I feel like I've worked through most of it, but it's nice to actually see the path. Actually, I'm trying to have to fight against, because we're having trouble with one of our extended family members,
Mhm.
and it's actually opened up a lot of understanding, and we're really frustrated with this person because they're that person that's sick all the time.
Oh.
There's
okay.
always something wrong. But when she was 5, her sister died of a brain tumor who had been bedridden for 2 years. So,
Okay, so now you see the path.
yeah, but she doesn't want to let go. She doesn't want to move forward in life. And I mean, we're talking, this has been 40 years. So the path is
Yeah.
deep.
Yeah.
The
It's
rut is
deep.
deep. Yeah. And she doesn't.
Is she
wanna
a
keep-
believer?
Yes. But I don't know if she wants healing. I
Yeah.
think she's kind of comfortable being.
Because
And-
that's what is that? What did I say? I said, where's it at? I can't have intention unless I'm sick. So
Yeah.
her core belief is, how am I going to get sick?
Yeah.
How am I going to get attention if I can't get sick?
Yeah. And
Possibly.
It's that just like sparked. I'm like, no, this is supposed to be about me. I need to work on myself. But it was just one of those like aha moments. Not
Yeah.
that I can do anything about it, so I'm not really going to try to stay there because
Yeah.
I can't
Right.
help
No.
who doesn't want help.
You can't. You definitely can't. But what I find is, if and also we can just pray, God, search me in my heart and let me know if there's anything in me that's offensive or that needs to be healed. Reveal them to me so I can walk in my full identity. But I know for me, if like wrong behavior comes out, like the hair thing, I know. Okay. I have a faulty core belief, a lie somewhere that I believe. So that kind of helps me to know, okay, if I am acting this way, there was an experience that created a lie that I need to get rid of, or if I have a continual pain in my life, which I found that out through a poverty mindset of what I had was generational in my family of living in lack and living in not enough and always frustrated there. But that's not even the experience that God wants me to have. So I've had to go back and look at my experience of what my life was like with that, and then look at my faulty core belief, because I was afraid and felt guilty to believe for more, to believe like my mom always felt guilty and my aunts felt guilty if she, didn't have enough
Megan saying that she doesn't have good signal right now.
Okay. And so those are some of the things that, so those are some of the things, like I know for me, and that has been one of the hardest things for me to break out, because it was ingrained generations and generations on both my mom's and my dad's side in different ways. So my dad was all, poor folks have poor ways, and he's not poor. Now, he used to be a little more poor, but my dad is like this tightwad. He lived in these rickety mobile homes, you know, and that's what I did. No, you go in there for a minute, you're fine. And then I know, like, he's got money now, but he's going to go the hard way. Like, he's just so poverty mindset, and he believes he's got to work so hard and hard and hard and hard for everything he's got, and then it's just very dysfunctional with money. Mm-hmm. And then my mom having guilt. You know, you always have to justify why you have nice things. You have to justify this or that, and so I never felt. And then the abuse, we combine that. You don't feel worthy and feel guilty. Yeah. So how did they break free of that?
Yeah, no, when I was younger, my dad totally favored my brother. Now, our relationship has been restored, but that for years and years and years, like, I knew that I was less than, even though it was never spoken, like all the actions, all the words. And I was always sick. So even that had kind of applied to me because I was not doing it, but it was after I started getting well and I no longer had that positive attention that I kind of, for a while, became a hypochondriac, because I wanted that attention. I wanted everybody to hover over me because I was getting attention rather than, you know, being ignored or whatever it was. So, no, I totally can see different aspects. And I've come through a lot of that, but looking back, it's kind of nice knowing where you've come from and see the journey.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that I even like the path. I like knowing I have this path of going, oh, awesome. Okay, I know that this was from an experience. Okay, good. I get to get rid of this lie. What's the lie I'm believing? What is this lie? And so I get to feel those feelings. I get to get rid of the lies, and then I get to replace them with truth.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of been the missing piece, I think, for me is, you know, people, they go to counselors and they think about their past and they think about their past. And I mean, it's years. Like, I've had a friend who's been counseling for years. They're not teaching her to replace the lies with truth. They're just focusing here. You need a time to focus here to get all that up, but then you need to, hello? I didn't know if that was going to be Megan. I don't even know if that was Megan. So, Ted Canyon, she's in Pampa. She's like an hour from me, but I don't think so. Okay. Because I have her name in my phone. So, anyways, that's what I was saying is, that's kind of the missing piece in knowing we can change our minds. It's so powerful. We get that freedom. I mean, we are creators because we've got God's DNA, you know, of that creation in us. And we get to, how do you feel if somebody comes up to you and says, you get to create your life?
It's kind of intimidating.
Yeah. Your outside, what you see on the outside is really created from your inside. Right. It's kind of intimidating, right? Yeah, it can be. I don't know if I really believe that, because God is in all control and my life is where it is because this is how God has had it.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, it's tough because you hear that and that's the natural, like instinct.
Yeah.
Like, this is my path. But at the same time, you know, my husband was in an awful motorcycle accident. when he was about 20 years old and shattered his wrists and completely dislocated his hip to the point that it was rotated and it was behind him and it was completely out of the socket. And the doctor said he would never walk right because it was so overstretched. But I learned so much from him years later when he turns around and says, well, that accident happened for a reason.
Yeah.
And, you know, there was a girl on the motorcycle with him and she took it the wrong way. But he's like, look, we were living in sin. Like, these things happen because it's not that God did it to me, but it's that I made choices that got me there.
Yeah.
You know? And I feel like when we say, oh, well, this is where God has me, this is what I have, like, it's kind of taking the blame off. And it starts putting the excuses onto God and saying, oh, this is your fault for my life. It has nothing to do with what I've done.
Right.
And how I've done this. Because he gave us free will so that we could make our own choices. And so we have to deal with the consequences of the successes because of that. I don't know that we're in control of all of it, but it's just that whole shifting blame.
Well, let's go back to the garden even. He gave Adam authority. We get that authority from God. He gave it to us, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we need to take that authority and make these decisions and doing what God created us to do. But we don't do that. I think we're scared to do that. And like you said, I think it takes the blame off of us and we can justify it. So that's something I think that's huge. And I think, you know, in the Christian circles, they're kind of afraid to talk about some of this. It scares them. But why is it so hard for us to believe that when God says, you inherited all this. You are my children. You get the blessings of Abraham. You get all of these things are yours. You have to receive them. Don't put yourself, I think it was Carol Tuttle something I heard. She's saying, don't put yourself in that needy position. Put yourself in a receiving position. And that's what God wants us to do.
That's being open. It's opening our heart.
Yeah.
Possibilities, because I think we're afraid of possibilities sometimes because it's unknown. And if we dream too big, like, we risk our dreams being crushed by whatever, you know, like, and I think we're just afraid of that. So we're more comfortable staying right where we are and not growing and not changing it, because change is scary and change is hard and change is work.
It can be, absolutely. But remember, there's two types of pain.
Yes.
Staying the same, or the type, you know, the pain of change. And I've always been the person that's like, I'm not staying in that pain. Heck no, I'm going this way. When I realized that sexual abuse, I needed healing, I went through my sexual abuse healing class, I went through my abortion healing class, like bam, bam. I kind of was an angry person for a while because I was going through so much healing for a while. And I also didn't learn about my thought life. I didn't really, but like, they didn't give me practical steps to actually change my brain. I didn't understand that. So I think we've come to a time and place where we are in this generation that we actually have more answers now, and that we actually can take them and go with them.
Yeah. Well, and I think there's so many that you don't know where to start sometimes.
Well, that's where we go to and say, where's my behavior at?
Right.
Where's the pain at in my life? Where's the stronghold? Where's the pain? What's my behavior? That's where I'm going to start. Or, you know what? We are more spirit than flesh. We were created by a spiritual being, by God, and we are more spirit than flesh. So we have to believe that our spirit converses with God's spirit and that we hear him through that. But we have to quiet our minds to hear, because God, you know, just saying, where are you at in this, God? What do you want me to learn from this, God? Instead of saying, oh, help me. I just, you know, can you just help me today? Can you just say, where are you? What do you want me to learn from this? What do you have for me? What's the next step that you want for me to take? I believe and I receive that you are giving me that answer. That is so much of a better mindset and puts us in a receiving position, believe that God's going to give us the answer that we need for that, because he's not withholding it. It's just that we aren't receiving it half the time, and we don't know how to receive it.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
So something that I tell people to do, if you've got, like, I just want to add this in, if you have an area that you know before the age of 12, or just whenever there was a trauma or hurtful experience in your life, and maybe you've done this, that you go and you close your eyes and you go back to that place. You go back to that little girl, you go feel all the feelings that are happening, and then you close your eyes and you look and see, where's Jesus at? Where was he? Was he outside of the window? Was he in the window? Was he in the room with you? Was he beside you? Figure out where he was in that moment with you. If he's outside, he wants in, so you need to invite him in and say, I want to invite you right here beside me to heal all of these wounds that are happening right now, all these feelings. I know you didn't leave me. I know you didn't forsake me. I know you're there and you want, to heal me. And you talk to that little girl and say, you're safe, you're protected, and then you just continue to tell that little girl you're okay. You feel those feelings. And then what you do is you just say that everything that's happened because of this has created lies in me. So now I'm going to tell that little girl what the truth is and who she is. And I'm going to tell myself who I am. I've had to do that. That's helped me so much. So anytime you can do that, that's another step that I take in this. And then I like to start, and you know this, gratitude journals. After you go through all of these things, just having a gratitude journal and knowing that no matter what happened, God's not mad at you. He wants to bless you in every area. And then we need to believe that. So there is something I read here, and it says a note on willful sin. And I thought this was kind of interesting, or kind of important for, it says willful sin is an act contrary to the teaching of the Bible that you enjoy and plan on continuing or feel helpless to stop. The enemy can enter our lives through this bad choice or deliberate rebellion. It can become a stronghold or a soul tie or a generational sin. And those are some other things that we're going to talk about these 8 weeks. So willful sin can be an open door to invite the enemy into our lives and keep us in bondage. So willful and sin can include addictions, alcohol, drug use, sex, and food. And I think a lot of people don't even realize it, how food is a willful sin sometimes. And they are blind to that.
Well, in reading Sacred Rest, I've learned that a lot of people use we know we use food, because I'm one that uses food. Like you're stressed out, like give me a scoop of ice cream or whatever. But that actually comes from not having enough mindful rest, because our mind is so busy. We need to zone out. And like we need something, it's that chemical reactive that does something to our brain to take us out of that moment and out of the stress, even though it's really only causing more. But it's actually, we need to empty our brains. We need to do the brain dumps. We need to do meditation and things to slow down, to give our brain space to think and be creative.
Yeah, because our mind is just noise.
Constant. As long as we're awake, it's noise.
And so we have got to quiet our minds. Learning how to quiet our minds is a challenge. But when we do, we can listen to our spirit more.
Well, and it's a necessity, It's driven me to a point that I don't like. When you realize that you don't, life is crazy, life is busy, and you can tie it to other things. You can tie it to a walk where you can just take in what's there and not think about all the things of life and all the tasks to do. you
I gotta
know.
plug my computer in. You can keep talking, but I know you want to plug
So
it. All this,
it,
I gotta do this, I gotta do that.
yeah, and in a life of homeschooling 7 kids, like it can get a little insane where
Yeah, so what
the
you
tasks
need to
become
do,
over.
what you need to do is you need to do a webinar or write a book once you get it mastered. Because if you can do it to 7 kids, you can teach these women how to quiet their minds if you can learn to do it. Because people will be like, well, I've got too many kids and I just can't do this, you know? So
Yeah, and I find that it, like, as I'm learning, I'm finding that it's necessary for my functionability.
mhm.
You know, like, and I'm realizing that when I went through the program before, a lot of my healings was from giving myself that space.
Yeah.
A walk in nature was huge for me to just, because it cleared my mind. It also gave me the spiritual rest because I was able to pray. Sometimes I listen to a podcast to learn something without interruption, you know, like, and it did something to my full body. Like, it affected my nutrition without me actually wanting to change. I didn't need to try so hard at everything else because my mind had the space and I was able to think and I was able to create and I was able to do what I needed to do because I wasn't overwhelmed with laundry. Because I had energy too. Like, it feeds,
Yes.
everything feeds into each other, kind of.
Everything does. But and if we can quiet our mind too, what I've noticed is I can get through more things in a day. Like, or I can, everything lines up to be more of, oh, okay, this is the next thing I need to do. And not be thinking, I've got this many things to do.
Yeah.
And we think that quieting our mind is actually taking too much time out of our days.
Right. But see, rest isn't ceasing all activity.
Mm-hmm. Right. Mm-hmm.
So rest is actually restorative.
Yeah, it can be restorative. Yeah.
Well, we're supposed to come out of rest better than we went in. Otherwise, it's not actually restful. So if you sit and zonk out to a movie for 2 hours, but you don't actually feel better afterwards, like, that's actually work, and it's not restful because your eyes are actually doing a ton of work, and your brain
Watching
and
this show, yeah.
Yeah. So I've just, oh my gosh, and one of the first things the book talks about for mindful rest is switching your negative thoughts to positive.
Okay.
Because our mind naturally wants to go to the negative.
It wants to default there.
Right. And so we have to bring it back to the positive, and that will bring us more rest and more clarity when we're not dwelling over the same negative thoughts every day, all day. Oh, I don't want to do this. Mm-hmm. And go, look, I only have to do this for 30 minutes or 15. I have a sign next to my dishes, because I despise dishes too, that says you can do anything for 15 minutes from Fly Lady, except for wine.
Except for wine. I love it. Yeah, you can do anything for 15 minutes. I can do this. I can enjoy it. How can I make this fun? How can I make this challenging? This is, it's totally, because, I was laying in bed this morning and it's so nice to not have the anxiety. Like, I've done this for so long now. Like, when I used to wake up, it was just total anxiety of everything. Now I wake up and it's so much fun to get to think these thoughts about my life and think about the things that I get to do for the day, or even if, even for working out, how do I get to take care of my body today? Or how do I get to bless my kids today or my husband today? And instead of, okay, I get to do this. I have to do this today. I have to do this today. And even if we don't feel like it, when we start saying those things, it actually makes us want to feel like it, and it gives us energy, to do these things.
It does. I leave these mindset coachings and I'm like, all right, let's go win the day.
Yeah.
I'm like, well, because it's hard to pull yourself out sometimes. It's hard to pull yourself out at 3:30 in the morning when it's the one child that tends to drive you crazy. Yeah. And tends to just rut your nerve, and you're like, it's 3:30 in the morning, and I know that I'm not going back to sleep.
I know. And then that's when you have to think, like I've been there, and it's like, so I can choose to sit here and think, I'm going to be so tired. I cannot believe I'm awake. Like, I know that thought of, I'm going to be a zombie. I'm so mad. And then you can get mad at your child. You get mad at everything. And if I can just go, okay, it doesn't matter. God can make the hours of sleep that I had feel like I'm multiplied. I can do that, it's just, and because I don't know if it was you that I told this to. I can't remember. I don't think it was. But let's talk about having sex with our husband for a moment. Okay, because this is how powerful our mind is, okay? So, let's talk about energy, because what I did was I related it to that, somebody, is you can be so exhausted and tired, okay? And if you don't want to have sex, but your husband does, you can just be like, I'm so tired, I just don't want to do this, blah, blah. But if somebody called me on the phone, okay, and I was excited to hear them, I was excited to hear their news, or maybe they were going to come over to visit me, and something got me excited, my energy level could totally change. So I know, like, I started thinking about that, and I thought, this is in here. This is in my mind. And it's the same thing. If you're woke up at 3:30, yeah, we need sleep. We don't need to do that all the time. But I think it's all the same. Like, how we think is going to give us the energy or drain us a lot of times.
It is. I had such a it was a rough day yesterday. And I kept trying to snap out of it, and I don't know at what point I gave up.
So how did you try to snap out of it?
I was trying to, I was actually texting a friend. I'm like, okay, I need some help here because I need some positive thoughts because I ain't got none. I was like, I'm done. And it was all little things. It was just that snowball effect on your day. And you're just like, I don't know how to do this any longer. So I was like, I need somebody's help. Well, we got to that point, and then just one more thing happened, right? Because it's always the tipping point. And I just, I gave up. They ran away. And it just, and the afternoon, I was like, I poured myself it's a small pot, but it's like 2 cups of strong tea. And I just felt totally exhausted, physically exhausted. I hadn't done anything. And that's when I shared that quote yesterday, because I was like, man, I know that my mind can physically drain everything that I have out of me. Or it can do the opposite, and it can energize. I mean, I'm exhausted right now, but I feel like I could go win the day because I'm thinking positively.
So see, now, okay, what you said, your energy, faulty core beliefs, if we're believing lies, those lies are going to drain us. Lies drain us. They do crazy things to our bodies. They create trauma. They create sickness. They do. And really, the negative thoughts aren't God's thoughts. So they're lies. So we speak truth. We start speaking, because even if it's not God's word, and I say, I thank you that angels are on assignment for me today. And, they are working for me. And maybe, I have secretaries in heaven that are working for me to help me get things done, and okay.
Well,
so
in Matthew 8, I think it's Matthew 18:10 that tells us that the children of God have their own angel who sits and looks at the face of God. So you can be like, look, my angel is sitting there at the feet of God, and I can worship, and I can be happy, and I can do this because it's right there.
Yes. Absolutely.
I shouldn't talk to you. I get an accent coming out.
Yeah. I have a friend, and they'll go, my kids just said, you've been talking to Olivia, haven't you? but that's exactly right. And so what I've seen is Christians will be like, well, you don't need to name it and claim it. And that's not what this is. But what are you naming and claiming in the negative? They don't think anything's wrong with that. What are you thinking on? Why is it so wrong to think about other things that are blessings, that are gifts from God, of walking in perfect health, of walking in these things? It's not something, everybody has that default of the negative. It's okay. That's not even what God wants us to be like.
No, I had a friend that did that the other day, and she was so negative. I'm like, but seriously, like, she's like, well, being here helps me to know where I need to be. And I'm like, yeah, but didn't Paul tell us to only think on the good and the beautiful and the true and the,
Yes.
like,
Yes.
so doesn't that count? Doesn't all of this count? Like, isn't health the good thing that we're supposed to think about?
And let's get, exactly, and let's deal with the trauma, because sometimes that's the sickness.
Right.
Let's deal with these lies and this emotional stuff, because sometimes that is creating the sickness. So, yeah, so that's and I kind of wanted to go through a prayer real quick about prayers for breaking strongholds and willful sin. So, are you ready for that? Are you good?
Hey, go. Almost.
Okay.
Sorry.
I could be interrupted. I don't know. Okay, so Father, your word says that whatever I bind on earth will be bound in heaven, and what I loose on earth will be loosed in heaven. I bind myself to your truth, so that I will no longer be deceived by the unhealed parts of my soul, the world, or the enemy. I repent and renounce the lies of the enemy that I have believed. I repent and renounce, I repent for looking within myself to get my needs met. I bind my mind to the mind of Christ so I can think and act like he would in every situation. I ask that you begin this very moment to heal the pain in my soul. Let my mind, will, and emotions line up with the truth of who you created me to be. I choose now to look to you for my security and purpose. I tear down and crush every stronghold I have erected that has prevented me from seeing and experiencing you and your truth. I receive in the name of Jesus every good thing that you have made available for me. I confess and renounce any willful sin that's in my life. I thank you for healing me and cleansing me from this conduct, and I repent from all such actions, attitudes, or habits that do not glorify you, Jesus. I claim the release and freedom promised by Jesus Christ so that he may be Lord of my life. In Jesus' name, amen.
Mm-hmm.
And then we are transformed. We just get to renew our minds every single day.
Can you send that to me?
Yeah,
Can you
I
send
can.
that to us?
Yeah,
Like,
I can send it.
I need to print that out. I used to have one that somebody had given me when we first moved in because we were having a really bad time. And I tell you, like, I don't think that we need to pray the same prayer all the time, but sometimes we need to remind ourselves over and over until it sinks in.
Yes, we will. And I've got, we're going to go through soul ties, hurts and traumas, strong, damaging emotions. We're going to go through judgments and inner vows, generational iniquity, curses and word curses, forgiveness. And yeah, so those are some things that we're going to go through, because if we don't know that that's there, or maybe some of them we've dealt with them, but what if there's just another layer that we need to deal with?
Or I think sometimes if we don't do it consciously, it helps us complete that process.
Yes.
Because
this is a little different for you this time around.
It is, and it's fun because it's totally where I'm at. Like, I hold the weight because of stress, and it's because of nutrition, but it's all, like, for me, I know that so much of it comes back to stress, the way I think, the way I do, because of it all. And it's funny that you started out, what did we start out talking about? I totally had it in my brain. Because it was another part of mindful rest, actually.
Well, I don't know, but something's coming to my mind about you. I'm going to share it. Okay. I don't know if this is anything that resonates with you, but this is what I saw. I saw your life with your 7 kids, and maybe it's not all organized, and maybe it's not all structured. but like you may be feeling guilty sometimes because you're not structured or you're not organized enough or you're not this or you're not, and I don't know if you even feel that way sometimes. But I know that everything that you have in you, the parent that you are, God created you that way. He gave you these beautiful kids and he created you that way specifically. And you have everything in you that your kids need. You are the way you are, and your kids need that. And that's when I was thinking about the Kolbe test. I was thinking, you get things done in a way that's going to be different than some other moms. And it doesn't have to look like their life. It's going to look like Amanda.
Yeah.
And your kid and your giftings are there to bless your children. You know?
Yeah, well, and I find that I'm trying to do this, and I want to be the type A, and I'm really a structured person, but when you have to consider 7 other human beings, I feel like that's where God's stretching me too, going, you need to get out of your rut and realize that there's another way to do it.
Yeah.
Put it in. No, it's okay. It's okay. Put it in the hamper. Oh my word. Sorry.
You're good. You're good. So yeah, that's what I was thinking. I just want you to celebrate, but all of us. And you know, the Kolbe is empowering,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to give us the exact. It's going to show us how we get things done, and we can celebrate that. We can actually start our days like that.
Yes. I that was pretty eye-opening. I mean, to some extent, it was kind of cool.
Yeah, it's very cool. And I don't feel guilty now I literally want to wake up and I want to brainstorm. I've always wanted to do that. And guess what? There's a reason for it.
Yeah. Well, and that's such a good thing. That's something that I should try doing and starting my day with anyways, because that's what I feel like I can't do. You know, like I feel like there's not the time and the space to create and to think these. There's times I don't even know how to think a positive thought because it's so there's just all this stuff in the front of you that you have to deal with. Yeah.
It's overwhelming.
Yeah. Just because, well, it's everything times 7. And they're boys, and I don't get boys. They're so weird.
Have you read Wild at Heart?
I have, and I loved it. I actually have a couple of books that are geared towards like boys and the youth, and I just can't get through it because I can't quite wrap my head around the way these guys think.
Wild at Heart set me free with my boys. And it just made me be like, okay. And my mom would come over and go, "You're letting them do that?" And I'd say, yeah.
Yeah. It helped a lot with our strictness with when they were younger. Like, we just didn't know what to do. And we didn't care that they played with guns. But let's just face it, boys don't play with guns in a right manner. And when they first try, like when they're trying to play with guns and they're wanting to point at each other. And so you just want to cut the line and say, this isn't allowed. And then you're like, but really, the truth is, they're going to chew it out of a graham cracker. Yeah, they're going to turn a paper clip.
Stick. They're going to use their finger. It was a never-ending battle, and I thought, I'm not fighting this battle anymore. And I stopped, and it was a lot more peaceful.
I think that's a hard part.
They did not turn out wanting to murder people.
Yeah.
They didn't want to turn out to do that. I'm telling you that. As a matter of fact, we introduced our boys to guns. We taught them gun safety. One of my boys carries now. My other one, one, he's getting his license. One doesn't like the guns.
Yeah.
But the other 2 do. So, well, Amanda, you go with your kiddos.
I'm going to go celebrate a birthday.
Do what?
So I'm going to go celebrate a boy's birthday.
Is there a birthday?
Yeah. My little 5-year-old.
Oh, okay. Little 5-year-old.
The one the picture I showed you today.
Okay. Oh, that's her birthday.
That's the birthday baby. But I remember there's a comment on the original post that I posted on Facebook from that's like, my back hurts just looking at you.
Oh, I know. I was looking at your picture.
Seriously,
know.
because it was all belly. And the other ones kind of were, but that one was just so visual for me.
Yeah.
That,
Yeah, and I mean, look at your belly. It's like there's only one kid in there.
yeah, well, and I don't have big babies, so I can't even, like literally, that's everything coming forth, because my biggest baby was under 8 pounds. He was 7'15".
So because you have your kids, how many years did you ever have an time not being pregnant for a while?
The biggest gap between children I have is 22 months.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't think.
And my first 3 were on birth control, so that didn't work very well.
Yeah. I had Chandler. I skipped one day of my birth control pill and I got pregnant. I didn't mean to skip my pill, but I was like, how'd that happen? I need to know.
Well, my mom did it too. She had both of us on birth control pills. My grandmother's had issues with hormones, so I don't want to use because
for you.
no, they just don't. And I'm trying to balance my hormones without all that stuff because I've seen the awful things that the hormones and the birth control can do to people.
Did you get your tubes tied?
I did.
You did. Okay. I didn't know if you did or not. I couldn't remember if you told me you did or not.
Yeah, that was it took me a while to get over it, actually. That was a hard choice. Yeah. And it was funny because this morning I was watching a video from another mama who I've loved and watched forever, and her diastasis is 12 fingers wide. And she's chosen to have surgery because she can't. I mean, it's so wide. You feel so bad for her. And she's tried 3 different programs, and I'm like, oh, but you got to do it.
As long as she, and I'm thinking, if that's what you'd go do it, Mama. More power to you. That
she's tried it for 4 years to do it.
Make sure she learns the foundations and how to function properly so that it's even better for her. That's what I think.
Yeah. Well, and I think she's tried so long to do it herself. She's gone through Tupler. She's gone through tummy, mommy tummy. I don't remember what it is. She's listed 3 other ones that she's like, I felt stronger, but it wasn't coming together. But at 12 fingers, that's, I mean, I thought I was shocking at 8. 8 is pretty wide. And to hear 12, I'm like, you really, her organs were literally coming out. They could see her intestines moving in her belly. I'm like, that's crazy.
On a whole nother level.
That is. So, and she tried. She's going to do surgery to just get her back to where she needs to start.
Yeah. Oh.
Because I agree. I'm like, I am trying to avoid surgery at all costs. But, I'm down to a 2 from an 8. So I can't complain.
That's awesome. No, that's awesome. And, is your depth a lot better?
It is. I didn't know how deep I was because I mean, honestly, I could go up to the top knuckle here.
Where's your depth now?
Maybe my 1 knuckle.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I can't. I haven't checked it in the last couple of weeks, so it's not really.
So I would be interested to see. Are you doing everything this time around, or no, not yet?
I'm breathing. I haven't, but honestly, it just cooled off, and I don't have any energy in this Arizona heat to do any kind of workout.
I understand that. Well, I'm just curious if, I just am I wonder what's going to happen with Amanda this time, so.
Yeah. It's definitely on the list now that it's cooled off. We have actually cooled off 4 weeks earlier than we normally do. So I'm looking forward to that. But, hurricane rains have helped. Something we don't normally deal with.
Yeah, but that's good that that's helped. So.
Yes.
All right. Well, my little girl is like, Mommy, Mommy, Mommy. And
this one too.
Hi.
You say hi.
You want to come see?
Hi.
Say hi, Bree.
Hi, Bree.
Here, wait. Say that again. Say hi,
Bree. Hi, Bree.
She got into her daddy's snore strips today.
Oh.
And it makes her look like she's gotten a black eye from it. It's like these little red dots and everything.
From the adhesive?
Something. Yes, it did something to her little eyes. I had to pull it off fast because she wouldn't let me do it any other way. Say hi.
I probably wouldn't either.
All right, girly. Well, you all have a good day.
You too. Thank you.
Hi. Bye. Bye. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.